Alright guys, welcome to the LPNCL Locomotive Shops, which is actually right now going to be building shop. I am going to record some videos over the next week or two of putting together a Colorado model product building. I'm actually going to build a new station complex, and I'm going to use 3 of their kits and put them together. But the steps for putting one building together are the same for putting 3. And so hopefully you'll pick up how these go together. First off, before we jump into the kits, I'll show you a couple things you might need before you get started. Obviously this is one of the buildings that they make, and it's not quite finished almost. These are all plastic. And they go together really well. The big advantage over these is they are super cheap compared to the Pico and Pola buildings. If I'm not mistaken, this one was like $30, and you know, something like this in Pico or Pola would easily be $100. So let me show you some things you might need, you might not need. First off, you're going to need a kit. These come flat. In just a plastic bag. You're going to need some paint. I like the Krylon. It's a paint and primer, bonds to plastic. For these buildings, I'm actually going to go with a cream color for the building itself, green for the trim, black for the roof, and white for the windows. So from simple there. Some sort of a trim knife or maybe a razor blade type thing to trim the flashing and to help trim these off. Pair of cutters to help cut these apart. Some sandpaper. You're also going to need some different kinds of masking tape for masking the buildings off and for assembly. So definitely a couple of things. I usually like to have some wide stuff and some narrow. The great thing about Colorado is you can actually order windows and doors and everything separate from the kit. So if you want to do some cutting and whatnot, and as you can see here, I've actually got some extras. Whenever I place an order for a building, I usually throw in some extra doors and windows because I never know when I'm going to need them. The next thing you're going to need is some sort of a glue. I've got 2 that I like. This is the Zap-A-Gap. And this is really liquidy. This isn't my favorite, but I like this for some things. For these buildings, this is my favorite glue. It's the Loctite Stick and Seal. It's a gel type glue, so when you put it on, it doesn't run. It dries clear, but it's also flexible. So once it's dry, it's dry. It holds very well. But outside where I leave my buildings year round, I haven't had a single building come apart yet, and some of these have been out 5 years now. So something else you're gonna need, I like to wipe these down with just isopropyl alcohol. In the directions it says you can wash them. I just like to damp a towel down with isopropyl alcohol and wipe it down to get any of the oil and residue from the process of making these. A couple other things you might want, some lights. These are little lights from Ozark Miniatures. I've already painted these and put these together. And you can see it's the same type lights I've got over there, and these come with a 12-volt grain of wheat bulb. Most of my buildings I put a strip LED light in, and you can see this is curved 12 volts, and it just, you peel and stick it to the inside. Something else you might need, I keep this stuff around. This is just PVC trim, wood trim. It's not wood, but it's made of PVC, and sometimes I use this for blocking in the corners. I also use it, as you can see in here, to help hold the lights in place. Because these walls are kind of thin, the the Ozark miniature lights will wobble a little bit. So let's take a look. When you get your kit that comes right in the bag, and you just dump it right out. As you can see, some of them are dark blue, some of them are light gray. It really just depends on whatever plastic that they're using. And then you've got the pieces. And again, these are all flat. These are the roof pieces. You can sort of see how they've got the green and the doors. And so we'll have to, break these apart and clean them up. You can sort of see on the edges here, there's a little bit of rough, and so we'll need to either take a knife or some sandpaper and just tidy that up a little bit. And so the first step will be to take these and at least wipe the outside down. Most of the time I don't wipe the inside. But and actually on this one I'm going to cut these top windows off and have the roof come down a little bit lower. And then I'm actually going to put a window in here. So I'm going to cut on the front part and at least put a window up here, because this is going to be the center part of the station. And then each of these, there'll be one on the left and one on the right. As far as directions go, this is what you get. You don't get a step-by-step direction. You get a sheet of paper that tells you all the pieces that you should have, and it's a good idea to compare here to here, because I've had one kit came once where I actually had 2 extra pieces of some stuff, and it was a little confusing for a second there, and I realized, oh, they put an extra piece in there. On the flip side, it's just got some basic directions. Like I said, it does not tell you, where to put what to what. They're sort of relying on you having some common sense and figuring out, oh, this goes to this, this goes to that. The only other piece of equipment, tool that you're going to need that I like to use is a framing square. I like to put this on my workbench, and once I've got the piece, I can sort of shove it up into this corner, and the whole structure itself I know is squared up. So that is the basics of a Colorado model, what you get in the bag, and what they look like. I like these because they are very, very, very plain. There's not a lot of detail. You've got the wood grain and you've got the window detail, but everything else is pretty simple. And I like that I'm able to add my own details. Here I've taken a doorknob from Ozark Miniatures and added that. I've added fire extinguisher. I've painted the wood grain, brown, and that, as far as that. The only other thing you're going to need is some window glazing. They sell some window glazing. I go to Home Depot and get some plexiglass that's actually frosted, and excuse me. We'll come down here and I'll show you. This is this stuff right here. It's Plastolite. It's frosted on one side, non-glare. It's actually meant for picture frames, whatnot. But I like this because it's got a little bit of a frosting in it, and when you look at it, you can't see straight into the building and see the bare plastic. And same thing over here. If you want to detail the inside of your buildings and you want to be able to see them, by all means, go forth and grab something different. But this is like $1.89 for one piece. And by the time I cut it down on my bandsaw, I can get a whole lot of windows out of one piece. So here is step one, and obviously I'm going to take all these out and get these trimmed up, cleaned up, and we'll go from there. Alright, so welcome back, and as you can see, I've got everything unpacked out of the bags. One of the things I like to do is get a little tub, and all of my windows and doors are going to go in here. So I try to keep everything organized, and this way I can keep everything together. I've got all of my roof sections over here, and as you can see, they've got some flashing that needs to be trimmed off, and we'll get to that a little bit. So all of my roof sections are together, and you can even order the roof sections separately too. They've got a really nice brick, and then I use a flat black, and then I usually come back with some weathering chalks. Now what's going to make this kit a little bit different is, as you can see, we've got a door, some windows. What I'm going to do is, in this particular kit, the cargo door is at the end. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to come in and cut a piece out here and move the freight door right here in the middle, and then we're going to put 2 of the doors down here, and these will actually fit. I'll have to trim just a little bit of the ridge off, but I measured these ahead of time, and so we're going to have a double door at the end of the building. And so what we're going to do is have a double door at the end of the depot, and then have a instead of that, and then we'll have this on the freight end. So, and then on the other end of the freight, we'll have another cargo door. And then, as you can see, these are the opposite ends, and these just have a single window. These won't be seen because these will go up against the middle part, but I'm still going to use them just to help support the roof. So the next step is to come in. I've already cut a little bit here. I'm going to trim all of these windows off the top because I want to lower the roof down. And then, like I said, on one of these I'm going to put a small window here just to decorate it up a little bit. And then once I get all of my cutting done, then I will go back and start wiping these down before I paint. I really don't see the point in cleaning everything now when I'm going to be handling them and touching them and grabbing them and flipping them over and whatnot. They're going to get dirty, and they're going to get grease and oil from my hands. So I won't do any of the cleaning until right before I'm ready to paint. And so at this point, I'm going to get my trim knives and everything, and I'm just going to start cutting and laying out where everything is, and then from there we'll get ready to paint. The one thing I do want to take a moment and give you a little heads up on is when you go to assemble these, you need to make sure you've got a fairly nice work area. As you can see, I've got an 8-foot long workbench, and I'm only going to be able to assemble one building at a time, and I'm going to show you why. When we get ready to assemble these, we're actually going to flip them upside down and stagger them, and then I'll have glue on the back side, and it will look something like this. And then we'll actually just fold these with the tape, and we'll have the glue and everything. Now, with that being said, these buildings, as you can see, are a little bit longer. So if I put one here, and I've still got the 2 ends, this particular building is going to take up almost probably 4 feet. And then once I wrap everything up and bring it up together, it'll come together quick. So that's where we are at this. So the next video, hopefully I'll have everything cut and trimmed, and I'll show you, hopefully I'll show you how I do some cutting and whatnot. Nothing special. I just use my knives. Some things I might use the Dremel on, but don't worry about the different colors. It's just Bruce at Colorado Model, whatever the color of the pellets, they melted down. These were a little bit bluer and these were gray, so no biggie there. And then you know, as far as the windows, you know, something else, I'm always trying to plan ahead. So, you know, while I've got something over here painted and drying, I'll probably figure out the window sizes and lay out the glass and start cutting my plexiglass for my windows, and then get these painted, and then once I get these painted, I can put the glass on while I'm still working on paint over here. So that's the beginning of a Colorado model building. You can see they are perfectly flat. I can tell you right now, I've already ordered some detail parts for this, and I'll show you in here. For instance, I've got a cool Coke machine that's going to go on the front. We've got a mailbox. I've got several of the Ozark miniature lights. They actually make two styles. This is the warehouse style. As you can see, it's really flat. And then they also make a little bit different version. And I'm going to use a mix of these. I've also got a little freight dolly there. And then also somewhere hidden in here, I've got the Ozark miniature station signal order board. That's going to go, that's actually going to go up here somewhere. I've got to do some measuring to figure out where my window's going to go so that that'll have plenty of room. And then I've had these floating around, some crates of bananas. I tried to put everything together, and then we've got some more crates and pallets of some stuff. And then I've got more detail parts, but I'm trying to keep everything together that will go with the station. So, alright, so that's where we are, the first part of this. And we're gonna say hi, Preston.
Hi.
That's my oldest. And so we're gonna get here and we're gonna start cutting and starting to get this thing put together. All right, welcome back to the magic of TV editing. I've been at this for about, I don't know, an hour or so. And as you can see, I have here's the matching piece from the other side. This was a solid, and I used my good old-fashioned knife here and measured it out. And actually, if you look, the seams line up perfectly with these doors, which makes it really easy. So I just cut that, and now I've got my freight door on the freight side. On the opposite end, where the freight door used to be, I have got these two doors. If you look really carefully, there's this flashing edge all the way around that goes up inside the door. I just simply cut that flashing off from the right side of that one and the left side of that one, and they actually fit perfectly right inside. So on the station side, there's going to be a double door entrance on the end. This will be sitting up like that. And then there will be another side like this. Now, give you an idea how long this station's going to be. We're going to have the freight depot down here. Here is, actually, this started off as the signal tower, and I've already cut the tops off. And so we're going to have that. This is going to sit right here in the middle. And then we're going to have the passenger side, passenger side down here. So you can see it's gonna, it's a good, not quite 3 feet long, but it'll be a really nice looking structure when it's done. And so, yeah, so that's how far we are right now. Probably my next step will be going through and hitting every piece with my knife and cutting and trimming all of the leftover flashing and whatnot. I'm going to mount this to a piece of PVC board, and so I really want the bottom. If I'm putting it on gravel, I usually don't even mess with the bottoms, but since this is going to go on PVC board, I really want it to sit really nice and flat. So that's where we are right now. these are the old windows off of the top of the signal tower, and so they're in there. And like I said, I actually ordered some extra doors because I knew I was going to be doing this. And yep. And on the, and then like I said, on the opposite end down here, we're going to have this with the freight door on this end. So we're going to have the freight door, and that'll be this way, and this will be the freight side of the station. And we're going to have a little middle section. This will be the passenger depot. And this will give me some space to put some benches and some whatnot. Maybe some signage up here, as well as, you know, light over the door, another light over the door, and another light over here. Yes, I like lights. So that's where we are right now. So far, I think I'm, you know, 2 or 3 hours into this, and I'm not going to do too much more here, except maybe just trim some stuff up and get some stuff organized. But this is pretty easy to me. I don't think. The plastic is, while it's fairly hard, you know, it cuts very nicely. I've still got a little bit of sanding to do here. Even though this does not have the same trim, when I mask this off, I'm going to mask it off and paint it like it does have the trim around it, and I really don't think anybody's even going to notice it, because this is all going to have the green trim around it. This is the station body is going to be the almond ivory whitish color. All of the trim is going to be dark green, and then the windows will be white. This was very close to what the Southern Railway did, so that's why I'm going with that color scheme. And then the freight doors will be white as well. But we'll get into the masking and all that a little bit later. So day one, and we're actually making pretty good progress so far. So up next, I'm just gonna, now that I got the major cutting, I'm gonna break out some sandpaper and sand and trim the flashing and whatnot, and we'll go from there. Alright, welcome back. We are an hour or so later, and I have cleaned up all of the roof pieces, and actually everything has been wiped down with rubbing alcohol, and it's been sitting out for a little while, allowing it to dry. All the roof sections now have 2 coats of flat black paint, and you can they're still drying. And down here we've got all the windows and the doors. They've been all wiped down, and they just got a light coat of white. I like doing several light coats of paint for this stuff, especially the white takes several coats. And then inside we've got everything else has been wiped down, cleaned up, and I doubt these will get paint today, but they are ready to be painted. And so what we'll do, what I'll do is these will all get a coat of the, let's see here. This is the gloss Navajo white, which is actually a little bit of a cream. It looks yellow on the screen, but it's a creamish color, which is sort of what the Southern used. And it's a nice contrast to the white. So the body of the buildings, all of the wood paneling will be the Navajo white. And then we'll do 2 coats of that, maybe 3, just depending on how it turns out. I've never used this color before. And then I'll come back with the tape and I'll show you. We'll mask off the insides of the buildings, leaving just the trim, and I'll come back and that will get with the dark green. And then once all that's done, we will put the window glass in the windows, then the window assemblies inside the windows, get the doors glued in, and then once all of that's dry, then start assembling. So this has been day one, and I'm going to add to this video as we go through. But as you can see, day one, I've got, you know, good amount of progress done, especially for, this is, like I said, 3 different buildings are going to be put together. So, you know, I'm very, very happy with the progress. So, it is Sunday, so hopefully tomorrow we'll see where we go. And then something else I didn't mention at the very beginning, I'm going to show you how to make some signs to decorate these. You know, a building is really, really boring, actually, like this one right here. You know, it looks okay, but once we add some signage to it, it's really going to pop. I'm going to show you how to do that with some weatherproof outdoor lettering material that you can print on any kind of laser printer. So, and you can see I only used, this was a brand new bottle, and I used about that much wiping everything down. And so, yeah, there we go. And that's a wrap for day one, and we'll see you later.